From as far back as I can remember, I've had two desires: to be strong and to be a woman. I just never knew how I could have both. Compared to everyone my size, I was the strongest man on the planet. But I felt like the person I was completely constructed. There was a whole bunch that was missing.
It was almost like Matt died.
And if you show up here in long hair and boobs, I'm going the other way.
I want my boys to be able to be proud of me. I don't think I'm comfortable as an extremely muscular woman, but as a guy, that's the only way I'm comfortable.
Let's go, man, come on.
There's just this feeling of being pulled between two worlds.
Hey!
Lovely, lovely to see you.
Yes.
Oh, there he goes.
How am I ever gonna find peace being comfortable in my own skin?
It's Louiza Shar here, and I am with the beautiful Janane Marie Croc, and we are talking about her life and her upcoming documentary releasing on Friday called Transformer. I'm so excited that you're here with me today. Overall, I want to first ask, how are you doing?
I'm doing great, and thanks for having me on. I really appreciate it.
Awesome. So I watched your documentary last night. I feel like I already know you. It's just crazy. You have been through so much, and you're still going through so much. I want to know, when was that moment when you said, okay, I'm going to give it my all and make these changes?
You know, honestly, that moment came and went like so many times because it was such a struggle. There was so much stigma with transition, and all these pressures trying to force me to stay into, because I had achieved so much already. In the Marines, I had worked in presidential security. In powerlifting, I was a world champion and world record holder, and so I had all these things going in my life, and so it was like I had built all these things that provided additional pressure for me to stay in that role and keep hiding things. But I knew from the time I was a young child, and you hide things as long as you can, and I finally got to a point where I just couldn't do it anymore. But then it was about a 10-year period of back and forth about whether to transition or not and how far to go with it. But then I was outed, close to 3 years ago publicly, and then that's what spurred my jump forward with transition. And that's where the documentary picks up, in the time period right after being outed, and basically follows my life for the next 2.5 years.
And you got outed on YouTube, right? Mm-hmm. And do you internally thank that person for making that move for you, or you were going to do this eventually anyway, and it was just like a catalyst?
Initially I was pretty upset, because the whole reason I wasn't fully out was because I had 3 teenage sons, and I was afraid of how being fully out would affect them. So that was the reason why I was waiting until they were graduating high school. So initially I was very upset because I was worried about the backlash for them. Fortunately, it ended up working out where, everything worked out fine. And, some things were said, but nothing directly to my boys. And they've done very, very well with it, because they've known their whole lives. And they're very, we have a very strong relationship, which also I think you see in the film. And so things worked out that way. And actually, it ended up being a blessing in disguise, because then it allowed me to get into activism and speaking and stuff sooner, which were things I was very passionate about and really wanted to do. But yeah, to out anyone, especially to do it like on YouTube, was, very reprehensible. And initially I was very upset about it.
You're such a great father, like you said, and I even saw in the documentary the power of telling your children at such a young age. Do you feel like that made your connection with them right now even more stronger and more trustworthy, because they love you and they're just so on your side, and it's just amazing?
Yeah, absolutely. It was absolutely the right thing to do, and I would encourage any parent in a similar situation to do the same thing. Because the thing I really thought about was, if I don't tell them and I wait longer, sooner or later it's going to come out, and they're going to wonder, why didn't you tell us? Why weren't you honest? Why weren't you open about it? If it's nothing to be ashamed about, then why wouldn't you tell us? And so I really thought it sent the wrong message to hide it from them. And then also, it just, they know they can trust me. They know I'll be open and honest about everything. So it established a really strong bond of trust at a very young age. And that's, been very instrumental in building the close relationship that we have.
And you talk about doing all of these masculine tasks like weightlifting and all of that because you wanted to decrease that feminine side of you on the inside. Do you feel like you still have to do that? Do you still have to push that away? Or do you still enjoy weightlifting and all of that?
Yeah, I mean, that was something that took me a long time to figure out, really. Like, I had been told, and society tells us, that is a masculine thing. But what I really figured out, especially when I got closer to the women in the strength training community, was that strength doesn't have a gender. And it's, all types of people are passionate about that. And it's not necessarily a masculine thing. And it's just something I'm passionate about as well. I've always loved strength training. I always will. And that has nothing to do with being male or female.
All of these procedures are so expensive, and you talk about that, like each one being, what, $100,000?
Well, in total, probably $100,000 or more. It depends, on the specific procedure, the surgeon, and other things. But yeah, at this point, I've probably spent close to $100,000 of my own money because insurance doesn't cover any of these things. And yeah, it's very taxing financially, and it's hard, having 3 young boys and thinking that the other things that money could have gone towards. But some of this, it's just a necessity in order to, feel comfortable in your own skin. These are things that have to be done.
When you wake up every morning, what brings you peace? Do you still have struggle finding that medium peace in your life?
Things are much better than they've ever been, but I'm not going to say that I never struggle, that there aren't rough days here and there. But I just try to focus on, honestly, at this point, I just try to forget about what society says, forget about pressure from other people, and I just try to be me, whatever do the things that make me happy and that feel right to me on the inside. And that's really what brings me peace, just trying to find a balance with that and disconcern myself with, pressures from society and other people.
Do you feel connected to Caitlyn Jenner in a way, and you feel like her story influences a lot of people in the world as well?
I mean, I think we have a connection in that we were both elite level athletes that are, transgender women, for sure. But our experiences are very, very different. I grew up from a very poor background, and I still work a 9-to-5 job, and so I think I'm, on that level, she lives in an entirely different world with her success and the amount of money she has. She's been insulated from a lot of the things that transgender people deal with, where I've been able to see those things firsthand and have a lot of, friends that experience the same things.
And as a transgender, you turn into a transsexual when you have that surgery, which is the genitals, correct?
Well, I mean, those are kind of older terms that, people don't really use as much anymore. But really, everybody's journey is different. Some people, absolutely need bottom surgery to feel comfortable in their own bodies.
So it's called bottom surgery. Well, see, thanks for letting. I don't know, so it's like it's great.
You're totally fine. Yeah. No, I mean, some people refer to bottom surgery, GRS, gender reassignment, or even gender confirmation surgery. There's a number of ways people refer to it. But yeah, not everyone who's transgender wants to have or needs to have bottom surgery. Yeah, some people are completely comfortable with that part of their bodies. Everybody's journey is different. That's what people don't understand. A lot of it's very confusing, but it's very much up to the individual. And there's some changes that certain people absolutely need, and other ones are totally okay with.
And do you feel like in the future you might want to have bottom surgery, or you're happy with yourself right now?
It's definitely something I've thought a lot about, and probably will. Undergo at some point, but there's a lot of risks. It's also very expensive, and while the surgeries are highly successful, there is a chance of nerve damage and losing sensation and things like that. So it's a lot to think about and a lot to consider, and especially if you're in a relationship, you have to consider your partner and how that's going to affect them.
Are you dating anyone? Can I ask?
Sure. Yeah. Actually, I am, and I met a girl. At one of the film festivals, and so far it's going amazing, and I'm really excited about it. And
which film festival?
The one Hot Docs in Toronto we met. Yeah.
Okay. And how is the relationship with your parents right now? So in the documentary, it was kind of rocky with your mom and dad accepting you. Has that evolved to a better place?
Unfortunately, it hasn't. They're pretty much, they love me. It's not like they're going to disown me, and I know they'll always be in my life. But at the same time, they have a really hard time supporting me as I am. It's just difficult for them to understand. They come from a very small town with very limited experience. And I know for them, there's still a lot of backlash in the community because of my success in the Marines and powerlifting and I was already very well known and, small town hero thing. And then having all this come out, I know they get a lot of backlash for it, especially my mom. People will say stuff to her, and I feel really bad about that, but it's not anything I can control. But hopefully they'll come around, but it's still been difficult.
If you can, share one thing about yourself that you've learned to help someone in the LGBTQ community, what will that be? So we can just look at them and talk to them and help them out with their journey.
I would say the biggest thing that's helped me, and I think can help other people, is to recognize when other people say nasty things about you or terrible things, it's more of a reflection of who they are than who you are. And because unfortunately we still face a lot of discrimination and a lot of hate and even violence, but just realizing that other people's reactions to you have nothing to do with you. It's really about them.
And this documentary comes out Friday. I'm sure you're so excited about that, right?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it's going to be all over the country on Friday and online with a whole bunch of downloadable sources as well. And yeah, we're really excited. It had a great run through the film festivals. And I hope people that not only do they enjoy the film, but they also learn from it. And yeah, we couldn't be more excited. And
I have to ask about your makeup. It looks beautiful. You have to tell me your favorite product or products, anything that you just have to have.
Oh my gosh, so many. Yeah, I totally love makeup. I'm a complete makeup junkie. I like a lot of MAC products, and oh gosh, I could list a whole bunch. But
NARS, all of that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So last night I was in Sephora, so nice. It's all the time.
This has been such a great experience for me to learn from you. Is there anything else you want to add about yourself, about your journey, what you've learned, anything?
I just think, like I said, like I briefly mentioned earlier, that everyone's journey is different. And people tend to think being transgender means you're just going from point A to point B, and it's a full transition for everybody. Everyone gets bottom surgery, everybody has breast augmentation, or everyone goes on hormones. And that's not the case. Everyone's very much individual, and it's much more of a spectrum versus an either or. So there's some people, you're hearing a lot more of the terms like non-binary or gender fluid or gender non-conforming. And these are people that just don't really fit in any box. And I also identify with that as well. And so it's just, if you want to learn more, there's lots of sources out there, and also just talk to people. I try to be really open and honest and answer questions, because if you don't, how do you expect people to understand if you're not willing to educate them?
That's beautiful. Thank you so much for your time today, Janane.
Thank you.
Of course. Thank you.